Okay, I'm so glad that you and I get to spend some time today. And I'm going to talk about knowledge versus wisdom. And when we're looking at the process of mindset, when you're looking at your prosperity mindset, this is a big one. And this is also, I think it's not necessarily my favorite one, but it's the most creative one part, it's a creative process in your journey. So I would take it as that, right? Of really saying knowledge versus wisdom. How do I actually create wisdom? So a lot of you are coming around to some concepts that you've had before. So you already have previous knowledge, you already have an understanding, you already have realization, you have a lot of information on the topics that we're talking about, but that doesn't necessarily mean they've turned into wisdom. And that's what we're really talking about, is really taking knowledge and what is knowledge and how you've been gaining knowledge and what that is, and pushing it together into a sculpted, defined, what is my truth, right? Just because it's someone else's truth doesn't mean it's my truth. And that's what you're trying to find out, right? What is your truth? What is your journey? What are you doing? So we're going to take that concept, and these are the big three, right? It's going to take your thoughts, what's in your mind, your experiences, and your learning. And then, right, thoughts, experiences, and learning. And so a lot of times you've been gathering information, you've been having realizations. Some of you are very brass taxy, where you go, this is exactly the way that I want it to set up. But it's also, when we look at experience, when I think about experiences, I think about that as skillfulness, that sometimes you just get better at doing something. So if you are working on resetting your mindset, or doing gratitude work or something like that, right? You start to get a little finesse around doing that, right? So it becomes also a chain of thought. And really, when you're looking at wisdom, you have to put in all of these pieces. Otherwise, you don't have this longer chain of thought. What we see in society at this point is we see an addiction to knowledge, but we see very few people have an attention span long enough to process it to wisdom. And that is being able to take many thoughts and put them together, or many categories of thought and piece them together. When you look at things that you are perhaps in awe of, that it is that someone really is bringing forward wisdom. And wisdom is a bowl of stuff. It's not a nugget, a nugget, a nugget, a nugget. Knowledge comes through in nuggets. Information comes in nuggets. Realization comes in nuggets. Practicality comes in nuggets. But craft, clarification, understanding, formal training. This is another type of beauty. And that's that sculpting process. And you're going to do it in your own style. So when you're thinking about your journey, I want you to really think about this as a journey of how you're going to take knowledge and your thoughts and your experiences and your learning. And how are we going to take all of that stuff that's just been clunked into the bowl of you, and now sort it and get it kind of deciphered? Some of it's deciphered, some of it's listening for the first time to your own thoughts, and really cultivating that to say, what is my truth? What is my truth? What is my deepest truth? Sometimes people only search for that when they're having an existential crisis. You don't have to do it that way. You get to do it just as you're going, and then you don't have to have an existential crisis. Um, Avert, right? Avert. But a lot of people don't do that until they're having an existential crisis, and they're like really challenging everything that they've been taught. And challenging everything that you've been taught, it's time consuming. It's time consuming. So even if you are in that place where you are challenging everything you thought you knew, okay, well, just do a little bit of it every day. Makes it a lot easier. And that's that sculpting process. And when I mean sculpting, I do mean like sculpting. You're really going to be carving out what is you now. What is the truth of that? And that is a lot of courage. It if I had any advice in preparing yourself to understand your own wisdom, it is to say you will need grace and you will need integrity. This is a kind process that you must be kind to yourself as you go back through your experiences, as you really go back through your knowledge, as you really just with curious eyes go back and really define the inside story. And what I found in my own journey, I can only speak to my own journey, but what I found in my own journey was how many ideas that I had kept from 20, 30, or 40 years that I don't even know how they got there. So I had to really use some dexterity to dig those pieces out. That I really had to kind of grasp at something that felt like smoke and be willing to go in a little deeper. So I had a lot of views around family. I had family ideals. I had a lot of things that I had to kind of pull out and go, oh, what is that? Is that just my experience? What did my experience actually teach me from that? That I've had a really big life in a lot of different places. I've had a lot of crazy things happen to me, and you probably have too. And that's why we're here, right? How do we make all of those experiences? How do we process them? How do we get them through? And how do we decide what part of that wisdom we're going to take forward with us? Some stuff I just needed to dismiss. Some stuff I wanted to write down because it was so ridiculous. Some things I wanted to be able to decide is, oh, this is a piece of my story. This was a turning point, right? It is my ideological truth. So one of the things that happens when you are questioning or going through your mindset and holding the self, right? Holding your big capital S self in esteem, right? When we hold ourselves in esteem, we're holding it in high regard and we're holding our process in high regard. So when you're doing that and the information is flowing, you have to be safe place for yourself to be able to even look at your experiences, look at the knowledge that you have, question the knowledge that you have. And question does not mean attack. And I think that's the other part of this is that sometimes we really view questioning as an attack, and it doesn't have to be like that. So, you're just going to kind of take a minute, kind of come back a little bit, and we're going to fix this weird piece of hair on me. And we're going to kind of come back. This is, you guys, this is the fun of having curly hair because it goes everywhere. That you're going to kind of take a step back and just go, okay, let's look at what is here. And holding that self in esteem, I'm going to encourage you to treasure your experiences because they're yours and they're past. And the learning that happened from those is what you paid for, right? That is that you paid for that literally with your life. You literally, because that time you're never going to get back. So you literally paid for that with your life. So I treasure the experiences that I've had, both positive and negative, and that I can honor that, even though some of them were horrible, horrible. And some of them were about perhaps recognition I got or things that I really needed. But I can look at that and just go, what is the learning that I had from that? And start writing it down. And that's why journaling is such a powerful tool because it helps you identify what is the shape that you want to take from that. And I will sometimes go back to experiences that I've already processed and go back to them 10 years later and go, well, what do I really think about that now with all of the learning I've had in the last 10 years? Do I have a different story on it? And when people ask me like, how did you get to numbers? And I tell them, I cried through numbers. It was math was a horrible experience for me as an undiagnosed dyslexic. And as an undiagnosed dyslexic, in the 70s, this was really powerful when combined with adoption and an angry Vietnam vet. So it got to be really crazy. And so when I got to college and I had to learn math, and I got that diagnosis and I got a great math instructor, it changed my life and became my superpower. But I had to be able to call, to be a little bit interested in the wonderment of how my relationship to math was different. And what my teacher had told me, he goes, "Look, you can solve anything as a word problem." And he took the time to figure that out for me. And that is how I would figure it out. And who assigned me math in the first place? My grandmother assigned me math, that she would literally give me the budget and figure out what we had to get at the store, because we lived in a commune style at that time during the summer. So we would have, I shared a bedroom with 7 other girls, and there was another bedroom with 8 boys next to us. So we had this huge amount of people to feed, that we were feeding 30 people a meal. And so in that commune style lifestyle, we had to figure out how much math, we had to do the math. They do the math. How do you get groceries? And I am still the queen of groceries. But right, I could solve it as a word problem, but I made the math go back after that, and I could add up and I could track and I can put all the pieces together physically. We had to go to this store for this and this store for that and that store for that, right? So I could take all of that forward. And it was a safe environment for me to fail, because on a farm you just make it work. You just make it work. So when you are thinking about for yourself your own journey, sometimes it's going back to your childhood and looking at what was the interesting life that you had, and what were the experiences that you had from that, and then how did it go through your life. Follow the thought from point A to point B to C, D, 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 just follow it down the alphabet of your life, and then go back and really say, what are the thoughts, what are the experiences, what are the learning that I had on that, and how is that wisdom today? And what that is for me on almost all of my topics is that the way that it presented in my life on these big topics um, really changed as I changed. And there's an evolution to every problem. So I may have the same problem that pops up 10 or 20 times in my life, but my evolution of thought changes. And the more I took on a prosperity mindset, the less pain I had to attach to many of those things. So as soon as I had someone teach me how to do math from a prosperous mindset of, oh, turn it into a word problem, you can get this done all the time. Um, as soon as someone gave me a tool to prosper, I didn't have to have the pain anymore. And that is one of the big reasons why I remind everybody, you have to learn prosperity mindset, because it will free you. It will free you. And you taking all of your knowledge nuggets and taking the time to be with them, that's why it takes years. If this is a practitioner's mind, you have to practice doing these things. And, you know, those for those of you who have come into those programs that I've led that are 3 years, that's why it's a 3-year program, because you need that amount of time to not have the schooling, but to have the cognition change, to have the aptitude, to be a little bit more ingenious in how you're looking at your life. You need the time. And you need the time for an epiphany. Epiphanies do not announce themselves until they drop in. It's not like you have an epiphany schedule. Boy, would I love that. I can invite that in. If I could have an epiphany every, Thursday, that would be super. So again, give yourself the time, and you're taking it. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for doing the courageous thing. Take it in with integrity, take it in with courage, and take it in a little bit at a time. Hold the self in esteem. That means appreciate yourself in the process. That means strengthen the relationship to your higher self. strengthen that, be a little bit crazy in love with it, and then be crazy in love with the outcome of saying, I'm going to take all of these nuggets and I'm going to push them into a greater piece of wisdom for myself, for myself. This is my wisdom. This is what I want to take with you. That is what this journey is about, is so that you can understand the wisdom of your life. Should you choose to use it in counsel or not, that's up to you. But it is to say, we must find the lowdown on us. You must go, this is the wisdom I have achieved because you paid for it with your life. Every hour that you've been here, you've been gathering knowledge and understanding and experiences, but you got to add them up, and you got to add them up to something that's meaningful to you. And that's why you're here. And that's why I'm always truly just, I mean, prayerfully, thankfully, so fond of you showing up every day because there's nothing greater that you could give yourself in this lifetime than understanding your own wisdom. And to do that, the only way I've found is to do it in a prosperity mindset, to upside the cart a little bit more in your favor. So thank you once again. That's why these are on video. I'll hang out with you again and again and again. So love it. Can't wait. Bye.